In just 9 minutes, uncover the most shocking truths from Ezra Klein's conversation with Pulitzer-winning historian Steven Hahn. From why Americans once cheered deportations, to the fascist idea that began in America, to how liberals helped build a political monster, this video breaks down 10 explosive takeaways that reveal the deep roots of Trumpism, America's hidden illiberal past, and the fight for its democratic future. Takeaway 1. American history is soaked in illiberalism. Steven Hahn argues that illiberalism is not some strange or foreign threat. It is deeply American. It has shaped the country from the very beginning. This includes the forced removal of Native Americans, the institution of slavery, and Jim Crow laws. These were not fringe ideas. They were central to the functioning of American society. Illiberalism is about hierarchy, exclusion, and power being concentrated in the hands of those who define who belongs and who does not. It's not just about race. Gender, religion, and political beliefs have also been used to determine who gets rights and who gets expelled from the national community. Hahn says, illiberalism is not at the margins, but very much at the center. For example, the Indian Removal Act of 1830 was a legally sanctioned act of ethnic cleansing supported by white voters who believed they were entitled to land and power at any cost. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 2. Trumpism is built on American tradition. Trump did not invent the tactics of political violence, exclusion, or institutional defiance. He tapped into a long tradition of American leaders who have used those same methods. Andrew Jackson ignored the Supreme Court to force native removals. Joseph McCarthy attacked institutions to root out ideological enemies. Trump follows this legacy of law-defying populists. Trump hung Jackson's portrait in the Oval Office. That was no accident. Jackson symbolized aggressive white populism and authoritarian strength. These figures gained popularity not in spite of their illiberalism, but often because of it. For example, in the 1920s, the Ku Klux Klan was one of the largest political and social movements in the country, and it was considered mainstream in many parts of America. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 3. White identity has always driven backlash. Illiberal surges in the U.S. often come as reactions to perceived threats against white Christian identity or dominance. After Obama's election, there was a backlash so extreme it birthed the Tea Party, the birther movement, and ultimately Trump. Hahn sees this as part of a recurring American story. The idea of a black man leading the nation triggered deep resentment. It was not just political, but racial, cultural, and historical. Trump's rise through the racist lie of birtherism shows how powerful these resentments remain. For example, during Reconstruction, the South could accept the end of slavery but not black political power. This echoes how many reacted to Obama's presidency. Now, let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 4. Liberals often compromise with illiberalism. Some of the most illiberal acts in U.S. history were carried out by liberal heroes. This includes Japanese internment by FDR and mass incarceration laws backed by Bill Clinton. Liberals have often chosen order over justice, especially when pressured by conservative or racist forces. Hahn says liberals helped feed McCarthyism. They wanted to appear tough on communism, so they purged the left from institutions. Liberalism, as practiced in the U.S., often fails in moments of crisis because it does not know how to handle power without compromise. For example, Lyndon Johnson passed the Civil Rights Act, but also escalated the Vietnam War, which targeted the poor and minorities for combat. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 5. American institutions easily caved to pressure. During the Red Scare, universities and businesses did not resist. They fired suspected leftists and blacklisted them to avoid government scrutiny. Institutions often choose survival over principle. Hahn calls this bending the knee. Today, the same dynamic is playing out again. Schools, media, and corporations are afraid to stand up to populist threats. Resistance is rare and fragile, especially when the government threatens real punishment. For example, Harvard's recent decision to fight back against political pressure is the exception, not the rule, and echoes how few universities stood up to McCarthyism. We're halfway through the video. Thanks for sticking with us. If you're enjoying it, hit the thumbs up and share it in your WhatsApp groups. If you'd like to support us, please tap the thanks button below. It helps us keep making great content. Drop a comment and don't forget to hit subscribe for more. Now let's continue with the video. Takeaway 6. Expulsion is America's go-to response. Again and again, America solves its social anxieties by removing people. This includes Native Americans, immigrants, political radicals, and criminals. Operation Wetback in the 1950s, under President Eisenhower, deported hundreds of thousands of Mexicans, including American citizens. Hahn says expulsion is a method for reaffirming belonging by forcefully rejecting those seen as threats. Modern immigration policies, especially under Trump, reflect the same logic. They are not new but drawn from a long playbook. For example, during the Great Depression, over 1 million Mexicans and Mexican Americans were deported to free up jobs for white citizens. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 7. Fascist ideas started here first. Hahn makes a bold claim. Elements of fascism appeared in the U.S. before they emerged in Italy or Germany. The 1920s Klan, prohibition, and eugenics policies were all authoritarian, anti-immigrant, and racially purist. American scientists and Nazi officials worked together on eugenics. Hitler admired U.S. immigration laws and segregation. Illiberal ideas like paramilitary enforcement and purity of bloodlines were American exports before becoming global. For example, Hitler referred to America's westward expansion and genocide of native peoples as a model for Lebensraum, or living space. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 8. History swings but does not repeat. Hahn rejects the idea of history as a pendulum that naturally corrects itself. Things do not balance out on their own. Changes happen when people fight for them, and even then gains are fragile and can be rolled back. Liberal wins often provoke stronger backlash. Think of how the civil rights movement was followed by mass incarceration and Reaganism. There is no stable center. Power shifts based on who is organized, who shows up, and who controls the narrative. For example, after the Red Scare ended, civil liberties organizations like the ACLU grew stronger, but so did the Klan and anti-communist laws. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 9. Movements must hold contradictions. Pure political movements do not win. Coalitions do, and coalitions are messy. Even the most successful alliances in U.S. history were built between unlikely partners, like former enslaved people and poor white farmers in East Texas. Hahn says if you want power, you cannot expect every ally to be perfect. You must work through differences. Trying to build movements that pass moral purity tests is a good way to stay powerless. For example, Bernie Sanders and Trump both appealed to voters who hated elites and institutions, even if their solutions were completely opposite. Now let's move to the last takeaway. Takeaway 10. There are no final victories. The illusion that you can defeat Trumpism once and for all is dangerous. This is a long, ongoing struggle. Even when liberal values win a battle, the illiberal tradition is waiting to return. It is a permanent fixture in American life. Ezra Klein says, "I can't believe I'm still protesting this," quoting a woman from 2017. Hahn replies, "You're always going to be protesting this." The fight for democracy is never over. It is exhausting, but necessary. For example, the Voting Rights Act was passed in 1965, but weakened in 2013. Now many states have laws restricting voting again, especially for minorities. Here is a brief introduction about Steven Hahn. Steven Hahn is a Pulitzer Prize-winning historian and professor of history at New York University, renowned for his work on slavery, emancipation, and the political history of the American South. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support this channel, hit the thanks button below. It really helps us keep going. If you enjoyed this summary, please leave a like and share it in your WhatsApp groups. To join discussion about this video, drop a comment below. And for more videos like this, hit the subscribe button below.